Hi everyone, hope you're ready for another episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary, where I answer some of the questions that I get from all of you around the world. Hope you're ready, because here we go. Okay, the first question, I got a lot of this obviously this week with the price of Bitcoin going up. Henry, what is really driving the price of Bitcoin? Is it similar to 2017 or is it different? The short answer is actually quite different. In 2017, there was obviously a lot of retail, there was a lot of FOMO. What we're seeing right now in 2020, it's obviously driven by a lot of institutional investors. You've seen this in the media. Obviously, a lot of some of the big firms that you've been seeing, like from Tudor Jones, Renaissance Technologies, Guggenheim recently, Pandale and Australia. So a lot of these firms have made announcements that they are looking at getting into crypto, but also some of the individuals as well. So, Stephen Druckenmiller is a good example. Ray Dalio commented on Bitcoin recently as well. But also when you look at some of the sell-side research as well, for example, last couple of days, you had firms like Citi, Deutsche Bank, yesterday Allianz Bernstein and others are publishing some research on crypto assets. So obviously that is generating a lot of interest from institutional investors. A good barometer to know where the institutional interest lies is when you look at products like the CME, for example, that last week had record levels of open interest on Bitcoin futures. Or even when you look at products like Grayscale that are listed in the US, where they just hit over $10 billion in AUM, this is a good indication of actually where institutional interest lies from that perspective. What also, I think we still should not completely disregard retail interest. I think especially the last 2-3 days, as Bitcoin was more in the media, I think we're starting to see a bit more retail interest. A good example of this is actually PayPal. PayPal, according to some reports right now, itself, the amount of Bitcoin that is being purchased through PayPal is equivalent of approximately 70% of new Bitcoins that are being mined. So a lot of interest from that perspective. So again, thanks for the questions. I got a lot of these on the recent Bitcoin market. Second question from Neil from Hong Kong. Henry, I see the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, has record levels of open interest, Bitcoin futures open interest. Will crypto derivatives develop as big as in traditional markets? The short answer is yes. Today, if you look at traditional markets, in traditional finance, the derivative space is multiple times that of the traditional spot market. That's not the case yet in crypto. So that's why I think most people believe that actually the crypto derivative space over the coming years will be bigger than what you'll see in the spot space. A couple of things I think you need to watch out for. One of them is whether we're going to have regulated crypto derivative exchanges. I think that's one thing that a lot of institutional counterparties want in order to be comfortable from the counterparty risk perspective. Second is having proper connectivity. For a lot of these high frequency firms, the quant funds, they need to make sure they can actually be piped up pretty properly with some of these crypto derivative exchanges. And number three is actually, frankly, having proper counterparty risk. For a lot of quant funds, high frequency funds that are trading, they need to make sure they need to be comfortable with the counterparty risk that they have towards these crypto derivative exchanges. A good example is literally until a couple weeks ago, one of the CEOs of one of the crypto derivative exchanges was under investigation in China, and actually all the redemptions from that particular exchange were completely blocked. And obviously that creates a lot of counterparty risk issues for a lot of clients. So I think something very interesting to watch. The one thing that I'm watching here is actually what's going to happen with retail. Many countries right now have made it very clear they're not going to allow crypto derivative trading to retail investors. The UK, Hong Kong, and many others. So I think it'll be very interesting to watch if that will change over the coming years from that perspective. So thank you for your question, Neil. Great question. And number three, it's from Azim from Sydney. Henry, do you think the recent surge in crypto trading will encourage institutional money to experiment with DeFi? The short answer, Azim, is actually the answer is no, for a couple of reasons. I think I expect to see a lot of institutional capital come in via three ways. One is the traditional instruments, products like the CME, products like Grayscale and others. I think we should expect to see a bit more institutional investors are comfortable with. These are regulated products. They're a bit more comfortable. Second is a lot of the funds. Today in the market, you have a lot of funds where the fund manager is licensed. I expect to see a bit more capital going towards those funds. Again, this is the same thing we saw 20, 30 years ago with hedge funds, private equity funds, VC funds. Institutional investors have started investing in these funds as they got comfortable with the asset before bringing that expertise in-house. I expect to see the same thing with crypto. And number three, I would say where I expect to see institutional capital come in is via the regulated exchanges. Again, compared to 2-3 years ago, you have a large number right now of regulated crypto exchanges. I think it's very natural to expect that the capital will come in via those avenues. When it comes to DeFi, I would say that probably what could drive it, ironically, are some of the recent regulations. One of them is the FATF rules, the Financial Action Task Force, that has a whole suite, what we call the travel rule, that basically for crypto exchanges and centralized custodians as well. Ironically, DeFi is obviously excluded because obviously you cannot control it. So we may see some of that trading go into DeFi. So very interesting to watch from that perspective. But for the most part, institutional capital, is just getting started with crypto. It's going to stay with centralized and regulated funds and other traditional instruments. Thank you for your question, Azim. In Sydney, where summer is starting, actually. Okay, and the last question is from John from New York. Henri, I'm very interested in crypto and I want to enter the space. However, I'm just freshly graduate. What can I do to try to get a job in this space? The one thing, I get this question a lot from even my own students. The one advice that I give is really you got to show that you're genuinely interested. And the beauty of this digital assets, there's a lot of ways of doing that. Even if you take some of the online courses that are available, many of them are available for free on the internet. Putting those courses after the certificates on your LinkedIn to show people that you actually have a genuine interest. A second is actually publishing articles. If you even publish an article that, towards the student community, really explaining or talking about some of the thematics that you learn and putting them on LinkedIn, on Medium, really shows to anybody you're interviewing with that you're genuinely interested. Even doing videos like these, it's very easy today, whether you're using TikTok and Instagram to LinkedIn and YouTube to create some videos. I guarantee you, whoever you're interviewing in the crypto space wants to see you're genuinely interested. And I think these are great ways. It's never been easier to do so. So I think those are great avenues. The other thing I would say is also when it comes to digital assets, somebody has like 10 or 20 years of traditional financial services experience is not necessarily positive in crypto. People actually often like the young people who have fresh ideas and are passionate and are genuinely interested. And that's something you can do. And another thing as well in crypto, a lot of the founders, the CEOs of crypto companies are very accessible. Whether it's Twitter, whether it's LinkedIn, feel free to reach out to them and emphasize that you're genuinely interested. You'll be surprised. The digital assets community, the crypto community is actually way more welcoming than people expect. So I think that's hopefully some good feedback for you. Thank you, John, for your question from that perspective. That's all for today, guys. I know there's a lot of questions I'm getting. I'm not able to answer all of them, but I promise I will get to them slowly but surely. Again, if anybody has a question, feel free to comment them on the comment section below. If you want to send them in private, you can send them to me via DM on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I promise you I will answer them as soon as I can. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you guys soon for another episode of Crypto Capsule Commentary.